All right, we're going to get it started. I woke you up, huh? That's a loud mic. Sorry, we're just a few minutes late. We had a work meeting right before this, so welcome. And tonight we have with us Casey Jones, who is the director of the St. George Area Communications Council for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who will be giving us our invocation.
Thank you, Mayor. It's an honor to be here tonight on behalf of the St. George Interfaith Council. So we bring the love and appreciation of the entire council, including our president, Reverend Buddy Harrington, and his vice president, Reverend Father Rob Willman. Our dear Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for this opportunity to be gathered together in this space. Father, we're grateful for all of the elected officials in this great city. And we would ask that thou please bless and be with Mayor Randall, Councilwoman Larkin, Councilwoman Larson, Councilwoman Tanner, Councilman Kemp, and Councilman Hughes. Please bless them for their service and their dedication to make our city and community a better place to live. Please bless their families and their loved ones for their service and time away from home as well. Heavenly Father, we'd ask that thou would also have a blessing upon all the individuals that work for this city who often give service that is so needful for all of us, but often heralded and unseen. Please bless them and their families and their loved ones as well. Please bless the residents of this great city with thy continued blessings of peace and prosperity and comfort. We're grateful for the rain that our community has received and would ask for the blessings that this community stands in need of. We'd also ask, Father, that thou would bless this meeting with a spirit of peace and with respect for all involved, and that everyone will be able to leave edified by what happens here. We say these things humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Casey. Councilman Hughes got a new grandbaby today, so do you want to lead us in the pledge?
If you could please all stand and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Congratulations, by the way. Nothing better than being a grandparent. There's two of you that don't know about it yet, but you will soon. Michelle's got a long way to go. I'll be a great grandma by the time you're a grandma. All right, so we will get started with our agenda. It's also public comments. If you wanted to make a public comment, there's forms in the back that you need to give to our city recorder if you haven't already. And it can't be on anything that is on the agenda tonight. So there is no changes to the agenda, is there, John? Okay, then we'll get started.
Should we start with item number 2?
Let's start with item number 2.
Okay, this is the appointment of Assistant City Manager.
So we held some interviews for an assistant city manager for John. As our city grows, John's plate gets smaller because he gets more piled on his plate. And so we are asking the council to appoint Robert Myers as our assistant city manager.
Mayor, I'll make the motion that we appoint Robert Myers as our new assistant city manager.
Second.
Motion by Danielle, seconded by Jimmy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And congratulations, Robert. And Robert is here with his family in the back. Robert, do you want to come up and say a few words?
Oh, yeah.
Robert, you going to bring your family up?
Bring the posse.
Yeah.
The whole girl gang.
She's like, yay.
I just want to really thank John, the mayor, and our city council for, allowing me this opportunity to continue to serve our community in this new role. These past 2 years to me have been the most rewarding of my career, and so I'm just so excited to have the trust of the council and of John to step into this huge leadership role for the community to help continue to move us forward. We live in, I think, the greatest city in the U.S. We are the envy of so many, and this is what people want to be. And so I just feel so blessed to have moved my family here and have enjoyed being a part of this community for the past 30 years and all of the blessings that I feel like it's brought our family. It's also been just such a huge blessing for me to be a part of this team, to serve our city council, to serve our public and our city manager, and also to work with such a dedicated and professional and talented group of executive leadership and city staff throughout our city. I can honestly say I've never worked with a more professional and talented group of people, and so every day I'm just amazed, and I just feel so blessed to just have this opportunity and the honor to step into this role and to continue to serve our community. So just thank you so much for the opportunity, and I won't let you down, and I look forward to getting to work.
Robert, introduce us to your family.
This is Evelyn, my second oldest. Adeline is my oldest here. I've got Emily, who's my fourth oldest. Olivia, my third oldest, and our little one, Amelia, who's a little over a year old. So I've got 14 a year, and of course my wife, Anne Marie. And I also have to say thanks to them for all of their support. They are in the background supporting me in this and just making all this possible for me to do what I've been able to do. So just thank you, and thank you to them.
Robert, yes. You were a great hire a couple of years ago, and you will do very well in this role. We all have great confidence in you and respect what you do, and you do have an amazing family. None of us could do this without amazing support systems behind us. So thanks for all being here. And we really like working with your dad and your husband.
Mayor, can I say something
Yes.
as well? So, yeah, I just want to echo that. And now we can see why Robert is so amazing. Look at all these women here that, like, keep him in line. So, and Robert came at a pretty crazy time in the history of our city. And I just have to say, I think you are a great choice for this position. And you always keep such a calm and cool demeanor. And you've just been a really breath of fresh air for the city. So, thank you, Robert.
I feel the same way. I just have one question. Y'all fixing to have any more kids?
Five is the limit.
Y'all fixin'?
Y'all never know.
I really just wanted to find an excuse to say y'all and fixing. Robert knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Robert came to us from Texas, and we love his drawl, and we don't want him to lose that drawl. So thanks, Robert.
Yep, got a beautiful family. You guys got an awesome dad, and echo what was said over there. And some of the employees have actually told me that about Robert is he just keeps it calm. You can't get that guy riled up. You can ask him a really dumb question, he just looks at you and gives you a really good answer, dumbed down enough that you can understand it.
The only thing you can do with Robert is embarrass him, and he will go
He does
the
get red.
brightest shade of
He
red.
does get red.
So we like to do that to him occasionally. Thanks, Robert, and thank you guys for coming too. We appreciate it. Christina, did you get any? Okay, so we will go to the consent calendar, John?
Item number 4 is the consent calendar. There are 9 items on the consent calendar, including item number I, which is part of the addendum. Staff has reviewed these items. They're administrative items, and staff recommends approval. If the council would like to remove any for specific consideration, staff can accommodate that. Otherwise, we recommend approval.
Mayor, having reviewed all of these items in the packet, I'd make a motion that we approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Motion by Steve, seconded by Natalie. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Item number 5 is a public hearing and consideration of adoption of the city's non-commercial airport hangar leasing policy. And Dustin will be presenting this item.
Do you need help, Christina?
All right, council. I'd like to pick up where we left off from our last work meeting. We've been 2 work meetings into this now, and some of this policy here, you guys asked for me to go back and make some changes with our legal representative. And 3.3 underneath the term and renewal, we went ahead and pushed that out to a 20-year with 2 5-year extensions. And if the hangar owner or the leasee has remained in good standing with all the monetary and non-monetary obligations through the term, the hangar is in good repair and suitable for continued occupancy through the extended term. The city, at its discretion, and at expiration of the term, the leasee shall have the right of refusal to lease the city-owned property on which the hangar is located. So we went back and extended the terms out to a 30-year, and then gave the leasee the opportunity to go back into another lease with the city. And then underneath the subleasing assignments, the leasee may only assign in its interest a hangar lease in connection with the permanent sale of the hangar, constructed by the leasee on city-owned property after obtaining city's prior written consent. The leasee shall be required to pay a transfer fee of 3% of assessed value of the hangar at the time of the sale. And this is based off of the Washington County Assessor's rate. This is not based off of an appraisal rate. And then we asked how we could tie this back into making sure that we were able to pay for infrastructure and some taxiway rehab and some things, and that this fees would be collected and that they would go into a restricted account for taxiway improvements and airport construction. And then down here, 5.4, the notification. The applicants will be notified via email and telephone of availability of hangar or suitable site for hangar development in order they appear on the wait list. If the city is unable to reach that applicant within 14 calendar days, the applicant shall forfeit the opportunity, and the city shall contact the next applicant on the wait list. If such forfeiture occurs on 2 consecutive occasions, the applicant will be automatically removed from the wait list. And then underneath accepting and rejections, 5.52, usability for based aircraft. The applicant may reject an opportunity to lease the based aircraft's dimensional requirements if they are larger than the available hangar opportunity. And if they do this, if they choose to do this, they will retain their spot on the list, and then we will go to the next person. If the applicant does not accept the opportunity to lease as provided in 5.51 and 5.52, and they do not apply, then the applicant's election, the applicant will either be moved to the end of the wait list or removed from the wait list after 2 such rejections. The applicant will be automatically removed from the wait list. That is what, after the last work meeting, those were the changes you guys had asked for me to make. And if you have any questions.
Questions for Dustin before I open the public hearing? No? Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, council. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, I will open the public hearing. What we're not going to do is debate back and forth. We're going to take your concerns and questions and write them down and then address them at the end of the public hearing and go from there. And we'll give you about 3 minutes each. So when you come up, state your name for the record for our city recorder. So with that, I'll open the public hearing.
Evening, Mayor Randall, esteemed council members, City of St. George. Happy to be here again. My name is Brad Schuster. I am the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association Northwest Mountain Regional Manager. I represent tens of thousands of members across that region, that 8-state region, thousands in the state of Utah, and several hundred just here at the St. George Airport. I'm here because I'm not quite sure if we're planning on a potential approval of the proposed leasing policy, or we're actually here to discuss a motion to begin a public comment period on these. I recognize that maybe last week it was posted and there was an opportunity for written comments. In my years of experience in advocacy across 925 plus airports and several hundred or several thousand members, I've never seen a situation, if indeed you're planning to approve tonight, I've never seen a case where the sponsor of a FAA obligated airport went literally from written document and straight to the public, the city council, county council, whatever it is, and straight for an approval. Typically, for any type of rate and charge, per the FAA rates and charges policy, per its spirit and intent, and Appendix 1 in particular, the FAA expects user consultations and engagement prior to establishment of rates and charges. And that's what I'm doing here tonight. I'm not here to argue on the specific language of the lease, only to implore you from a perspective of what is standard and what I believe and what the FAA believes is the spirit and intent for an FAA obligated airport is to engage in those user consultations. So there's some back and forth and exchange of ideas. I appreciate the fact that you've engaged your city attorney. I appreciate the fact you've engaged aviation attorneys. But the people that really need to be engaged are many of the people you see sitting right behind me.
And we had a work meeting where many of them came, and we let them comment at that work meeting as well. And then tonight we're having another public hearing, so.
Okay, yeah, no, that's great. I appreciate that, Mayor Randall. But all I'm saying is the document, once in the final draft, is typically goes out for public comment. They have assigned people to represent them to have the continued dialogue. And we respect the fact that you're the sponsor. We respect the fact that ultimately it's the decision of the sponsor to establish airport policy. All I'm asking you on behalf of these members is that you give them an opportunity to actually have dialogue about the final draft of the document. I'll be available for questions for the rest of the evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mike Brennan, and I want to start off by saying that I have no vested business interests in the airport. I don't own I don't build hangars. I don't own a multi-million-dollar jet. I happen to be Joe Average that owns a very small plane and a hangar in which I store it. I would like to give you my professional background, though, and it will lend some to my concerns about tonight, and then I'll get into exactly what I'm asking for. My professional background is I've spent the last 25 years in commercial real estate, especially in leasing. For the last 18 of those years, I've negotiated, drafted, reviewed, and litigated leases, specifically commercial leases. My primary request tonight is to echo Mr. Schuster. It's not to ask you guys, it's not to throw fireballs at you or bring up the terms or anything of that nature. But as Mr. Schuster said, I think that all of us in here, there may have been some working meetings, but the vast majority of us had no idea what was going on. And it does impact us directly. What we'd like to ask the council tonight is to simply table the vote for 60 days, set up the stakeholders to interact directly with the city, let those stakeholders express their concerns. I know I only have a couple minutes, so I don't have time to get into all the concerns.
But I would like you guys to express your concerns tonight while we're having this public hearing so that we can address those. If the council decides to table this, at least we can take some of your concerns with us as we go back into another work meeting.
Well, I'm going to highlight the concerns in a second. I just wanted to give you that background. And because I only have 3 minutes, I can't go into the deep details of every concern, but I'll start off by saying my first concern is the lease terms. How will this policy and the lease itself impact the existing leases? My second concern is how is this policy going to impact the future leases and the ability to incentivize the gentlemen who build these hangars to come in, invest in the groundwork, invest in the utilities, and realize that investment. I know the policy says you guys have determined that amortization over 20 years is sufficient. I think the people who build that may have a different opinion about that. Then last, again, going back to what I do for a living, the terms of the policy and the lease itself do raise specific concerns with me. I'll just give you a couple right off the bat. The first, I forget his name, but the first gentleman who spoke tonight, he said that he made the changes you've asked for and it's a 30-year term. That's not accurate. If you read it, it's actually a 20-year term and with 2 5-year options at the city's sole discretion.
That's incorrect.
I'm sorry?
But that's incorrect. I'm
well,
sorry for interrupting, Mayor, but the options are at the users.
But again, you said you didn't want to debate this. I've read it, and this is what I do for a living.
That's a factual.
There are terms in the lease that it says specifically if the lessee has been in total compliance financially and et cetera. Then more terms down in the lease specifically give the city the right to terminate that lease under various circumstances. One situation provides for 90-day notice. Another situation technically provides for just written notice. So those are deep concerns I have. How do you incentivize people to come in and improve the airport and put time and money into it that they cannot recoup if those leases can be taken out? Now, I'm not saying that's an intentional angle that the city is going for. What I'm saying is the terms need to be revised. There need to be some additional language added to it to clarify that, to protect all the stakeholders' interests. And I want to be clear, the city is a stakeholder. The city, the developers, the general aviation community, the city as a whole, we're all stakeholders in this. So again, I don't see any harm in tabling this to put together legitimate stakeholders who have a significant amount of experience in this, put it together, hear everybody's concerns, including the city's, put together a policy and a package that meets everybody's concerns, and then come back and vote on it. So like I said, I know I have a short amount of time today. I'm happy to talk to anybody who has any questions about that. I just want to thank you for allowing me to speak today and reiterate my request that you respectfully table this for 60 days, put together a working group of the active stakeholders, and hear us all out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I guess it's my turn.
State your name for the, yeah.
My name is Troy Belliston. Thank you, council, for having us here. Appreciate you having the public hearing as well, because I know sometimes this doesn't even rise to the level of requiring a public hearing in statute. Sitting in your shoes, I understand. I don't like being criticized either, and you know, this is kind of a hot button issue for folks. But I'm here as a pilot. I'm here as a stakeholder. I'm here with a guy that has put a lot of investment out on the airfield. I've created the opportunity for some of these smaller guys to have some ownership, in a joint ownership in buildings that they normally wouldn't have the ability to do. They would be stuck in a leasing type of a scenario. I've given opportunities for guys that have, 1970s aircraft, kit planes. The idea that these are, a lot of them very well-to-do is incorrect, right? Most of these guys are hobbyists. They're building a kit plane. I'm building a kit plane, right? That's kind of what got me involved with it. There's an old saying in aviation that says, how do you make $1 million in aviation? You start with 2. So it's a labor of love for a lot of us. Just to get to the point of, some of the issues in the policy. Paragraph 3-2, no leasee shall have the right to record or cause any document to be recorded against the leased premises without the express consent of the city. I can understand and appreciate that. However, the paragraph should also include language which allows a leasee to record a UCC filing or a mortgagee lease assumption with language to the effect that the city's prior written permission shall not be unreasonably withheld. That allows a hangar builder or somebody that's trying to get financing an easier pathway to get that financing. Paragraph 3.3, this is kind of the big one, right? The term of the lease. You guys have it at 20 years with 2 5-year extensions. it's a real challenge when you're talking about putting in investment out in on that airfield. I'll give you an example. The hangar that I did on the west side was $1 million hangar. It cost me $150,000 in dirt work to prepare for that hangar. That's unrealized improvement at the airfield I'll never get back. The hangar to south of me didn't put that $150,000 in, and you have a hangar with a 13-inch ripple through it, right? So, you want quality product on that airfield, and for quality product to go up, you have to have security to be able to put the investment into it, the financial investment into it. These hangars are good for 60, 70, 80 years. If I'm going to, none of you would go buy a house with a 30-year note and not have anything to show for it at the end of 30 years. And so there needs to be a longer term. I would suggest a 30-year term with 3 10-year extensions from that. Paragraph 3-5 or 3.5, the paragraph reads like the city can terminate a lease for a reason that the city deems necessary. However, there needs to be fair compensation if that does arise. I understand critical need. I understand if you have to do capital improvements to the airport, or leases need to be taken down for that reason, but it needs to be a very deliberate process there. Paragraph 3.7, 2 years is fair, but please allow for an extension should a legitimate need arise. Sometimes plans can get hung up in the permit process, and it takes us over that 2 years. I've been there. Paragraph 3.9.2, this is another big one that you guys have written in. In commercial building, in commercial leasing, an owner can expect, 7 cap is a pretty good return, 7% return. That's what we would shoot for. You guys have added a 10% profit share requirement in your lease policy should somebody sublease or sublet. You won't allow the hangar owners to record an interest in the lot, yet this council or the airport policy wants to assert an interest in the profit of the hangar owner should he choose to sublet a spot to another airplane owner. And that 10% is calculated on anything over and above the cost of the lease. Give you an example. On the west side, those shade hangars, the airport wasn't building shade hangars, but there's a need and a demand for it. So those guys went out, they got the loan, they've put 15 planes in it at $250 a plane. Well, you're paying a lease, you're paying taxes, you're paying a mortgage, you're paying utilities, you're paying all kinds of things, and the city is saying, hey, we should get, after the lease, we should get 10% of the upside. I just don't think that's right or fair or equitable. Paragraph 3.9.3.
Hurry, Troy.
Well, Mayor,
What's that?
can I address him?
Sure.
I just wanted you to know, Troy, that we started our work meeting at 4, so we did get your email, but your email came in after 4, so I'm just sitting here looking at it.
Okay.
I just wanted you to know that, and that it's
I
actually.
wasn't going to go, pardon me.
No,
Councilwoman,
your email's really helpful is what I wanted to say, because you did bullet point everything, and so I just wanted to share for other people too. He sent us an email with his points bullet pointed, and that will be helpful for us to be able to go through all of these, because we can only write so fast. And so your email, I'm following it as you're talking and you're reading it to us, which is great, and carry on, but I just want you to know we got it, and it's actually a really helpful way for us to address all these issues.
Thank you. I actually was not going to even talk to the points, but Mary, you said you want to talk to the points, so I switched my my tactic there.
Well, and I think it's important that the rest of the people here hear you speak to those points, so then they know they've been covered too.
Okay. Would you like me to carry on, or?
Yes, but not for 20 more minutes. Just
I only got 15 more points.
then you're out of here.
I'm just kidding. A fixed transfer fee, paragraph 3.9.3. I mean, you see that when HOAs, transfer and whatnot. But again, $1 million hangar, that 3% fee would be $30,000. I don't know that number is an equitable number. Paragraph 5.2.1, I wholeheartedly agree that the city needs to implement a fair wait list policy. $8,000 is in some cases 4 times what the land lease would be. I would say maybe a 1 year value of what the land lease is that you're seeking. something along those lines. Paragraph 5.3, you've kind of created a first class, second class position ranking on who could actually get on the list. I think that's a little bit problematic. And last but not least, paragraph 5.6, where you say, hey, you can't change your position. Sometimes, like if I was to, the way my funding works is typically I have a partner. That partner needs to be in first position. So if somebody were to come to me and say, hey, Mr. Bellison, I want you to build me a hangar, I'd love to do it, but we would have to change that entity into my partner's entity for the period of construction and then change that entity back. Would that fall under the 3% transfer fee just because we're doing it to accommodate the construction and the financing of a hangar? It's tough to get hangars financed. Banks don't like land lease, well, especially in this case, it's not a land lease, right? It's a lease, and so it's really tough to get them built. And so typically you're having to do that with cash. The last couple of hangars that I built out there cost me $100,000 in just for the use of the money. It's not cheap to be able to do that and make those movements. So anyway, I did email them to you. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Hello, council members. My name is Carson Stilson. I'm a born and raised St. George resident. I was a Dixie Flyer, and now I'm a private pilot who flies simply because it's my passion. I'm currently building an airplane from a kit here at the St. George Airport, and I'm subleasing a hangar space right now from another hangar owner while I wait for the opportunity to build my own airplane. In 2022, I began documenting this build to share my passion for experimental aviation, and that project truly took off. The videos that I've been filming of this build last year were viewed over 200 million times. And bringing attention to general aviation, showcasing the southern Utah area, and igniting passion in other potential aviators. Over 1 million people now follow this journey, and I pour my heart into inspiring others to pursue aviation. Tonight, you've heard concerns from a few other of the pilots and interested parties here about the hangar lease agreement. I want to speak as the small general aviation pilot, not a contractor, not a corporate pilot, not a millionaire. I've yet to meet a single pilot who is in support of the agreement the way that it currently is, just because it doesn't really benefit any of us. It was designed with the city's interest in mind, but places more burden on aviators than I believe is necessary. The new 10% sublease tax, because that's what it is, affects people like me who are directly just trying to afford our passion. It doesn't affect the actual leaser, the person in charge of the lease, as much as it does the small pilot. The Utah Department of Transportation recently reported that the St. George Airport generates $177.8 million in annual economic benefit, yet has a $4.3 million investment need. Instead of utilizing more of that state-proclaimed revenue, this agreement unnecessarily taxes pilots and hangar owners, discouraging general aviation. The requirement for aircraft to fly every 6 months is another issue that I'm concerned about, as it prevents the potential of kit plane projects like mine, which can take 2, 3, 5, or even 10 years to build. It also creates a potential safety risk, as some may feel pressured to fly whether neither they nor their aircraft are ready, and the last thing we want is an accident because a pilot is afraid of losing their hangar space. Finally, I've received emails from airport staff that suggest that the airport will assign hangar space depending on the size of an individual's current aircraft. This once again prevents people like me from building a larger hangar and perhaps leasing out portions of it while I try to grow my own brand and channel. My dream is to eventually build more aircraft. I want to continue to inspire people to be passionate about aviation after this one is finished. But that won't be possible if I'm confined to a small space due to the fact that I'm simply not wealthy enough to own a larger aircraft. I urge the council to postpone this vote, involve more pilots in the process, and I also encourage, which I know will probably not be popular, the restating of an airport board that represents all airport users, not just those who are city elected employees. I hope we can find an agreement that supports the spirit and heritage of aviation in southern Utah. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Michael Green. I'm here representing the museum at the airport. Jack Hunter emailed me from, of all places, Australia. So that's why Jack can't be here tonight. Jack wanted me to kind of remind the council, which I'm sure you're aware of, that the museum is there. And he's looking to find out exactly how you're going to apply some of the issues you have here in your new document to the museum. And he also asked me to ask about the fact that he was told that the 3 lots in front of the museum, right across from our main hangar, were supposed to be his. And that was implied by Rich, the last manager. And so that's one of the issues. I think I talked to Destin about it yesterday, so I know that's probably a legal issue that will pop up here. The main thing is that we have multiple aircraft, flyable aircraft, and we have people coming in every day. In fact, we had 60 children come in today. That was a tough one, to give them a nice tour of the airport while it was raining, snowing, and everything else. The idea is, I know that you know that the museum is there. And that's one of the things we want to expand, like everybody here wants to expand or get their hangar. So that's one of the things we need to find out. I don't know how you can address it, but I think it should be addressed because Jack still has a lease, and I think he's got a 30-year lease. So I don't know how much is left on it. But he does want to lease the other property so he can build another hangar and probably do some more tarmac, whatever he wants to do. But it's something that needs to be discussed. I don't know how you're going to approach it, but I think it needs to be because that museum is going to be there for a while.
We're going to be having a separate meeting with Jack just on the museum. So
You want to do that?
that's what the plan is.
Okay, good. He'll be back. He'll be back on the 18th. I think he needed a vacation. I think his wife said, "You better go, or I'm going to be mad at you." So, and I
Smart
also
man.
want to point out something. That young man who just talked here a minute ago, I want you to know, at the airport just last week, I had a guy fly in here, a student pilot fly in looking for you. He saw his site, and so it says he gets out there, so the information gets out there. So I thought that was kind of fun. I'll let you know people do know you exist, and I won't talk too much more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, Council. My name is Randy Owens. I'm going to make this real short. I'm not going to cover any of the territory that's already been covered, but I just wanted to bring up one thing just to make sure that it gets covered. First off, about myself, I was a aerobatic competition pilot for about 20 years. And not a fat cat, not a big guy. I'm another, just a kind of average Joe. Some people make the choice in their life that they forego some things to be able to do some other things. And that was one of my areas, right? So people all the time said, "Oh, you fly, that must be, how you make a living." It's like, no, that's how I waste money, not how I make money, right? So anyway, but one of the main overarching themes in this, and I think what everybody's trying to bring up, is that there maybe needs to be a little bit more flexibility in some of this. And specifically, I'm going to bring up 3.6.1. So that's an area that talks about what you can do with a hangar, and in there we're talking about an experimental, building an airplane, right? And it says that you basically have 2 years to build an airplane. Well, I've known people that it's taken 5 years, it's taken 8 years. And depending on the kind of airplane that you're building and the way that you're doing it, and by the way, aerobatics, a lot of people build aerobatic airplanes. So, but a composite airplane can easily take 3, 4, 5 years to build, and especially if you're going to do a good job. So, and we want to encourage people to do that. So I think there needs to maybe be a little more flexibility. And just echoing some of the other comments that were made here about maybe a working group, the intentions that the board has here and what you all are trying to do is very understandable. At the same time, the individual users' needs and the stakeholders, it just maybe deserves a little bit more attention in that regard, because there are uses for that airport that really are in the best interest of growing the airport, aviation, bringing money into the city and all of that, which would still be completely in the vein of what people are trying to do out there, right? So that's the only thing that I wanted to maybe bring up and just maybe reemphasize that. So I appreciate the time, and thank you very much for everything you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Mayor, Council, thanks for your time tonight. Appreciate it. I'll keep it short. My name's Vince Leonis, aircraft owner, 35-year resident of St. George, business owner and taxpayer. My comment is on 3.9, the subleasing and assignments portion. Many of the people seated behind us tonight are here because they have airplanes and no place to park them, or in desperate need of a place to park them. Many of the people behind me are customers of ours that we serve and try to utilize. We entered into an agreement the business I have and my partners based on terms that we agreed to with the city and a contract, and we build our business around that. And this specific subsection talks about a 10% fee, not to our revenues, but also but to our profits. So after our profits, after we pay you guys our taxes, our permits, all the money that we put out every year, which is a lot of money, we've based this business based on all that. And now going forward, this has added more cost to that business model, and it will be passed on to our customers, which will probably force a lot of these people out of town or to other airports and take their money elsewhere. My suggestion on this matter would be, like you do at some of the car rental facilities and stuff out there, either charge a square footage rate and or a 10%, or the lease rate, or the 10% based on the profits. But both of them together is a lot of money. Our profit margins are very narrow, and we tend to stay here and be invested in this community and this airport for a long time. We're not looking to build, sell, and get out of town. So we're trying to create a good product for all the members of the community, the city, and everyone involved there. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Mayor Randall, City Council members, thank you for having us here. My name is Jason Blake, and I'm the interim president of the Southern Utah Aviation Association. And I'm not going to go through and reiterate everything that everybody already said. What I wanted to clarify and make sure that I know that you've received a number of emails, and some of those were to St. George City or SG, comments at sgcity.org or whatever it is, the one that's on the website, but not to the city clerk directly. And I wanted to make sure that you got all those.
We've received all the emails.
Because I have a copy of mine here, but I just wanted to say that, I think you've heard all of the issues that people have, and what I would like to suggest is, like Brad Schuster suggested, is maybe we could table this and get more input from the stakeholders before a vote is taken. So that's just kind of a summary from the association, of which many of these people are members of already. So thank you for your time. Appreciate
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Brett Wayne. I'm about a 15-year resident of St. George, and also an owner of Hangar 55K at the St. George Airport. As part of background, one thing I'd also like you to be aware of, the fact that I spent about 8 years as a commissioner of the Livermore Municipal Airport in Livermore, California. And part of what I'm seeing here tonight is that this is a policy that's in search of a problem. We would never have done this so quickly at the city of Livermore. The first that I heard about this, and I can't speak for everybody here, but a lot of us don't have our eyes glued to the St. George City website looking for what's coming up on the city council meetings. And so the first that I heard about this policy being proposed and being changed was Tuesday night at about 11:50 p.m. So my encouragement right now is that I think we do need to slow down and get more input from the stakeholders, not just city staff and city council representatives that represent the city's interest in it. I think you need to get more input from the rest of the population that's affected by it. In terms of specifics, I'm a little bit confused about why there's a need for a hangar waiting list right now. There's over 20 hangars south of the terminal that are vacant land. There's another 20 acres north of the terminal that are vacant land. And there's over 50 acres north of the existing hangar complex that's on the east side of the airport. And mind you, there's currently a little bit over 60 hangars sitting on 17 acres on the east side of the St. George Airport. Now, I can understand wanting to hold back some of that land for expansion of the terminal on to either the south or the north of the terminal. But the city of St. George already has in its master plan that was published in 2022, a plan to build on that 50 acres north of the existing hangar complex that will add almost another 90 hangars on the east side. And mind you, just those hangars alone will double the number of hangars that's currently available for non-commercial use out of the city of St. George. So right now, it took 14 years to build 60 some odd hangars. It could take another 14 years to build another 90 on the east side. So I don't think there's an urgency that requires a week notice to change a policy that has impact on a large number of currently existing hangar owners. One of the things that I found a little bit disconcerting, just to skip ahead of, because a lot of the things that I had here have already been discussed, but I want to talk a little bit about some of the absurd timelines that are established across this document. And I just want to give you a little bit of background. My wife and I have owned 4 different aircraft over the last 30 years. Right now, our Mooney aircraft is stuck up at the Troutdale Airport in Portland, Oregon. I flew it up there in July of last year to get the fuel tanks repaired. It's still up there being repaired. It took 14 months to get the bladders manufactured to install in that aircraft. So by the time we go from the point with the aircraft not flyable to the point that I get it back to St. George, over 2 years will have elapsed. Our Cessna, which had an engine problem about 10 years ago, we waited over 14 months to have a new crankshaft manufactured so that it could be installed in the engine so that the engine could be rebuilt. So issues like aircraft have to be flown every 6 months. We've got an aircraft right now that hasn't flown in the better part of, it's been sporadically flown for about 2 years. Does the city think that it should have the ability to take our $500,000 or $700,000 investment in our aircraft hangar away from us simply because parts weren't available to get our aircraft fixed? And I think that's important because right now, there's no need for that. The idea that the city was going to require every aircraft that's occupying a hangar out there, the St. George aircraft, to be flown every 6 months. Exactly how are you going to enforce that? Are you going to have people out there taking down tail numbers of aircraft that are coming and going? Are you going to be looking through ADS-B logs, looking for aircraft that have flown and departed and arrived? ADS-B isn't even required to fly out of St. George Airport. So where's the manpower going to be for monitoring these sorts of things? I think with respect to, again, the parts issues with the airplanes, I can't go down to O'Reilly's and buy a new starter for my Cessna. I can't. You know, things that you normally think of that are easy to fix on your car, you can just take it down and have it done, have the maintenance done at the dealership. I can't do that if the parts aren't available. I think there's in section 3.9.3, the 3% on the sale of the hangar, I can understand the city wanting to be able to generate revenue to keep the facilities at the St. George Airport up to date and things like the taxiway and the apron improvements. But all of the money that comes from the development of the St. George Airport that included the taxiway improvements come from AIP funding, of which the city has only a small interest in that. So trying to generate revenue to maintain pavement that has been built and developed with AIP funding, which was funded from fuel taxes, paid from the users of the airport in the first place, doesn't make sense. And then I think lastly, the term of the lease, the comment that, well, you know, these rich airplane owners and these rich aircraft hangar owners, they can depreciate the cost of their hangar over 20 years. 20 years from now, when I don't have a medical and I can no longer fly my plane, I expect to be able to sell our airplanes, sell our hangar, and I expect some future tenant to be able to enter into a lease agreement with the city where they can compensate us for the cost of the hangar. The city has not participated one bit in the investment that we placed in our hangar. They leased us the ground. The apron that was paved in front of our hangar was paid for with AIP funds. There was no reason for the city to be making a charge. I mean, if the city required 3% on the sale of every home in the city, you'd have this city council chamber and up to the blocks or surrounded of people say, because our hangar, we've got about $750,000 invested in it. We hope to sell it for more than we bought it for. But the city's stake in that is now going to be a $25,000, $30,000 stake on something you didn't move dirt, you didn't invest in the hangar, you didn't pay for the steel, you didn't pay for the concrete, you did nothing. So anyway, I think right now the city needs to slow down on this process and get more feedback from the people that are going to be genuinely affected by this, as opposed to steamrolling this policy through without a lot of the people here that are disagreeing with it. Thank you.
Thank you. If you have something new to say, come up and comment, but if we're going to go over all the bullet points that have already been stated, we've written those down, so just FYI.
Good evening, Celeste Matarazzo. I come to you as an engineer with a passion for aviation and a love for this community. I'm losing my voice, sorry. New things I just want to add. I am concerned about some of the terms in this policy that are not in keeping with the requirements for the general assurances for AIP or for the city, such as the terms of subleasing, 6 months, occupancy requirements, 14 days within the calendar year, the requirements regarding flying requirements at least once every 6 months. I can tell you, as a person with a heavy commitment to my family, sometimes 6 months goes by very quickly. So I'd like to ask the council to consider what the policy changes were about. The stated introduction I saw was about the supply and demand about hangars, but many of these terms that have been changed have no relation to the supply and demand about the hangars, and so I'd like to have, I feel like there's an overreach with respect to the terms on the lease and any new lease. And additionally, the last thing that hasn't yet been pointed out in section 3.93, it says the city has discretion but not the obligation to sign a new lease with the purchaser of my hangar, and I think it should be stated in good faith, and that it should be more than just, it should be within a good faith agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments before I close the public hearing?
My name is Lloyd Crumrine. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you. I am not a hangar owner or aircraft owner. I have no dog in this hunt. So what I am here is an aviation enthusiast to let you know you have a wonderful opportunity with this airport out here. And I say that from experience. I sat on the Aviation Advisory Commission in Ventura County for 10 years, chaired it for 5. We changed an airport, Oxnard Air Force Base, into Camarillo Airport. And if you will look, you will find out that Camarillo is one of the most vibrant airports around. One of the reasons is that the airport community has a voice in everything that is done in the county with the 2 airports, the Camarillo Airport and the Oxnard Airport. I look and I see the master plan for the St. George Airport, and all I see is plots of things. I don't see a vision from this council is what do you want out of your airport? What do you want it to be? I see Millionaire building a restaurant over there, which may then turn this airport into a destination for general aviation pilots looking for that $50 hamburger. And those $50 hamburgers are a little more expensive than that now. But you have an opportunity, but you need to take the public input. You need to understand the aviation community. I've been in aviation for over 50 years. I soloed in 1968. I have the Wright Brothers Award from the FAA as a pilot for 50 years. I'm a military pilot, retired colonel from the Air Force. I'm an FAA inspector for 21 years. I know aviation. And I encourage you to listen to your constituents, maybe establish 1 or 2 people within the council to be a member to talk to the aviation community so you can get an answer to when you come into a meeting like this, you already know what the vote's going to be because you know the public will support it. That's all I encourage you to do. And good luck with the airport.
Thank you. With that, I'm going to close the public hearing. I think we've heard plenty of concerns about the lease, and we got the message loud and clear. I did just close the public hearing, yeah. Comments from the council?
May I address several of these comments?
Yep.
As the member of the city council who is the airport liaison or airport board person. So to that last gentleman's comment, we do have one person. I drew the short straw. So we've heard from several people that have made excellent comments. I think our overarching issue that we have here is a basic one of miscommunication about what the intent is with several of these items. One, we have not rushed this thing to, when COVID came along, before COVID, you could walk into the airport just like you were buying not even a $50 hamburger, but you could walk in and say, I need an airport or a pad for to park my plane so I can build a hangar, and you would have one very quickly thereafter because we had plenty of capacity and not as much demand. When COVID hit, the whole community, because the state of Utah didn't close down the way a lot of other places did, we were rushed. The housing, a bunch of other things, including airport hangars. So the reason for this policy being brought forward, it is not, as one gentleman said, he was my favorite, Mr. Wayne. A policy in search of a problem, definitely not. We have a problem. We have a wait list that is more than 50 or 60 parties long that have been waiting for us to come up with a way to take the limited supply of airport hangars that we have and the fact that it takes a period of time. It's not just, yep, throw down some asphalt, you're good to go. Everything we do on the airport has to be approved by the FAA. By the way, Dustin, if I misspeak here, raise your hand and let me know. So it's a miscommunication or a misunderstanding, and I understand the need for us to clarify and to make some of these policies clear. I think we've heard loud and clear that the terms of the leases don't make a lot of sense, and that the attempt by the airport staff and the council and the city leadership to find a way to help maintain the taxiways and those other things. And again, Dustin, you got to catch me if I misspeak. I believe the AIP funds or others will allow for 35 feet of taxiway maintenance. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. On a Group 2 taxiway, which is that we're looking at doing down on the west side, yes, they will only pay for 35 feet of asphalt, no paved shoulder, and then they will not pay for infrastructure.
Meaning any utilities or anything like that?
No.
So they'll just pay for that. Okay, so we need to find a way to pay for some of these things, which we will do. To say that the city of St. George has not invested anything in this, those of us that were around when the airport was built, I believe it was $140 million, give or take $10 million, to build that facility, because we want to support not only commercial aviation but general aviation as well. So, but we need to clarify better in this policy. This is not a lease. This is not a final commitment that anybody's making. This is a guiding policy from which the leases, they aren't even leases. They're actually use agreements, because the FAA will not allow us to encumber in any way the land inside the fence. And so that's another place where we need some clarification, and we need to explain exactly what it is that you are paying to use for roughly, I think, Mr. Belliston, maybe $2,000 a year. Granted, there are a bunch of costs involved. We've got soils issues and other things that have to be dealt with out there, and we know that. We had to deal with it on the runway, and we're going to have to deal with it on the taxiways, and we look to the general aviators to deal with it in their individual pads. And so, and for all those reasons, I see that we do need to take this back to the drawing board, continue to receive input from the aviators, which we received a great deal of in the last week, and we received some great deal of in the previous work meetings, which we really do appreciate them coming forward.
So Steve, do you want to make a motion?
I am ready to make a motion if the...
I'll second it, if you make one to table it.
Make a motion that okay, so my automatically seconded motion, Mayor, is that we continue this item to a date not certain, so that we can put some more work into this policy, primarily to clarify what its use and purpose is for, and also to maybe adjust some of the fees and other things that maybe are out of line.
Motion by Steve.
Second.
Seconded by Jimmy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it will be continued.
And then, sorry, Mayor, just one other thing. If we can make sure we find out, I agree with that gentleman that says, I felt bad that he wasn't glued to the city website to see what we're doing.
Right.
Made me feel a little bad. But I do understand that, so let's find out how we can get this to where you all have it so you don't have that feeling. 'Cause I understand the feeling. I think we felt like we were trying to do that by the meetings we've had. But I do understand we want to get that out to you. So let's find out.
Councilman Hughes, we've actually discussed this, and the city in their new website has a place where you can sign up for their newsletter, and we intend to post future comments and other things about this on the city's newsletter, which you can sign up and it will be emailed to you, so you don't have to go sit on the city's website 24 hours a day.
Okay, I would just suggest these guys are pilots. Let's make it a little easier.
Okay.
So that's all I'm saying.
City website, sign up for the newsletter, you'll get noticed.
Because what we don't want is we don't want this feeling that we were trying to rush something, because we didn't feel that way, but obviously you all do. So let's just get it in front of them, whatever way we have to.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mayor.
All right, John, next item.
Okay, let's move on to item number 6, which is consider approval of ordinance number 2025-001, amending 5.06 acres of the Atkinville Interchange Area Commercial PDC for a 107-room hotel, a 20,140 square foot medical office, and a 9,131 square foot retail building generally located on Pioneer Road.
Okay, all right. I will get started. So,
I think everyone knows where this is at, but just in case there's someone here that doesn't know anything about this project, this is located west of I-15 and Pioneer Road and east of Sandpiper Drive. So this item, this is the third time this has come to the council. The first time was in January. That's a view of the site plan from January. We did have this back in February come back.
Dustin, can you shut that door for us so we can hear? Thank you.
In February, there was a proposal of possibly putting an entrance off onto Nighthawk and taking away the one on Sandpiper. And then, this is that one I just showed you. This is the current site plan that you had in your packets. The main difference that you can see, the original, the medical building and the retail building have both been turned 90 degrees to the other direction, so they're facing out towards Nighthawk. And then, I didn't mention it, but we've got, this is the medical building, this is the retail building, and then we've got the hotel. I'm going to go to a bigger picture of this. The hotel has stayed the same. It's still 107 rooms. Nothing has changed on that. The medical office building, that has been reduced by just under 3,000 square feet, so that does give them a little bit more parking. The retail building has actually been added 700 square feet, so not just a little bit of an add to that. On this new site plan, the entrance, there's two entrances, one, the same one off of Pioneer that's been the whole time, and then they do have the one off onto Nighthawk. The site stays about the same level elevation-wise as the previous ones. But this puts all the parking in the middle, which changes the parking requirements and gives them a few more parking spaces. So before, they were short 16 spaces. Now they are over 10 spaces with the buildings that they have presented and the sizes. In addition to the parking, the additional parking spaces, the applicant has added a large vehicle parking area on the side of the hotel along Pioneer Road here. This is about 184 lineal feet for larger vehicles pulling trailers and such. So they've added a few more areas for the larger vehicles. Let's see, what else can I say? The site that you see, or the site plan that you see and is presented here, it does meet our code. All of everything they've adjusted, so it does meet our code as you see it. Let me go to some pictures. Now, the applicant has a 3D model of these pictures I'm going to show you. So if you want to see, it moving around, we can do that, different shots. But these are just still pictures of that. This one's just an overall shot of the site on an aerial photo. This one is shot from Pioneer Road, looking, back over towards the hotel, medical office, and retail building. This one's off of Nighthawk, sorry. No, wait, we're still on Pioneer, sorry. Pioneer, looking straight back onto the site. This one you can see that the hotel is a little bit lower than Sandpiper back here. You can see the road back here, the rear. This site is coming down Pioneer a little bit towards the intersection. Again, all the sites, you can see the sloping on the site. This one is on Nighthawk, looking south towards the hotel. You can see the new road put in here. And then we're up at the corner of Sandpiper and Nighthawk, looking towards the site. This one you can see they will be required, and they do show that there's going to be a 6-foot privacy wall put in along Sandpiper. Again, no access. And then they will be required to put in that 10-foot landscape buffer. Actually, they're required to do a 15-foot buffer, but the landscape buffer is a little bit more dense. So this picture does show trees. No, it doesn't show any shrubs. They will be required to put those in. Then this is, again, looking off of Sandpiper, kind of down towards the site as it sits a little bit below Sandpiper. And then this one is still on Sandpiper, showing the rear side of the hotel. The little building here is the amenities, the pool. And then another one directly south of the site, looking north. And then these were just those views that they had taken before of the site at the elevation of that third floor, looking onto Sandpiper. And then in your staff report, there's 15 different conditions, possible conditions you can put on this item if you choose to approve it. And I am available for any questions. As I said, the applicant does have a 3D model if you want to look at some of the moving pictures up and down the streets.
I don't have any questions. We've beat this horse to death, I feel like.
Yeah, and I want to add to that. I really appreciate all the work that these developers have put into this. You know, we really pushed them to change this. The neighbors really, you know, were worried and concerned. We've had a lot of feedback from the neighborhood, and I feel like they've worked really hard to meet the expectations that we had, and I really appreciate them. So,
Good job, Colby. Team effort.
the only thing that I would add, I would make a motion unless you want to have more discussion about it, but I still think we should put just no overnight parking signs on the south side of, of Sandpiper So, unless you want more discussion.
That's something that we can work, we've got 15.
We can add it.
Add that number 6.
We can add it now.
It's one of the 15 items.
Yeah, it's
it doesn't
one of the
have
conditions.
It just kind of leaves
Number
it
4.
open. So yeah, it's number 4.
Okay, yeah. So I'll make a motion, Mayor, if you're ready for one.
Sure.
Council's ready?
Yep.
Okay. Do we need a drum roll, it feels like, after all this time? I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2025-001, amending 5.06 acres of the Atkinville Interchange Area Commercial PDC for a 107-room hotel, a 20,140 square foot medical office, and a 9,131 square foot retail building generally located on Pioneer Road, including all of the conditions. And yes, it says if the council chooses on number 4. So yes, we would include number 4 also for the no overnight parking. And I would just say on the south side of Sandpiper Road. Is that south? No, sorry, that's east. I'm directionally challenged tonight.
No,
Thank you.
Well, the site plan's kind of tilted, so.
I've got a motion by Danielle,
I will second that motion.
seconded by Michelle. Any discussion on the motion? This is an ordinance calling for a roll call vote, starting with Natalie.
Natalie Larson, aye.
Jimmy Hughes, aye.
Danielle Larkin, aye.
Michelle Tanner, aye.
Steve Kemp, aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Item number 7, consider approval of ordinance number 2025-018, amending the city's general plan by updating the moderate income housing plan element.
Hello. So this is the moderate income housing update that we discussed at the work meeting. We are required to have 3 strategies. More can be chosen, but 3 must be met per year. The plans are updated every 5 years, and reporting is required each year due August 1st. Each strategy has the implementation steps in the timeline. So I put all of the strategies on this slide that are proposed. The ones in blue are the new strategies. The ones in black are the strategies that are already included in the plan. And I didn't know if you all want to go through each strategy like we did at the work meeting with all the timelines.
I think we got it.
You probably remembered those. So these are those strategies. And then the next slide are the 2 strategies that we decided we could probably take out of the plan because they no longer meet the city's needs. And then if you are satisfied with those, the Planning Commission held a public hearing on February 11th. Whoops. And I went straight to the end. And no public comments were made. They forwarded a positive recommendation with a 5-0 vote. And That's all I had for you then.
Any questions for Brenda? If not, I'm ready for motion.
Mayor, I can make the motion that we approve ordinance number 2025-018, amending the city's general plan by updating the moderate income housing plan element.
I'll second.
Motion by Danielle, seconded by Steve. All in favor, starting with Steve.
Steve Kemp, aye.
Michelle Tanner, aye.
Danielle Larkin, aye.
Jimmy Hughes, aye.
Natalie Larson, aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Item number 8, consider approval of ordinance number 2025-019, amending the city zoning map by changing the zone from A1 to RE 12.5 on approximately 9.3 acres, generally located on the east side of 3000 East and approximately 1880 South.
Good evening, City Council. So as John mentioned, this is a zone change proposal. It's been given the name of Grotto Holdings. So we're generally located on the east side of 3000 East and north of 2000 South, the parcel highlighted here. Current land use designation is low density residential, and current zoning is agricultural A1. And again, the proposal for the subject property is RE 12.5 for future subdivision with that minimum land use size. So there was a public hearing on the item with the Planning Commission on February 11th, and they did recommend approval of the zone change 5-0. And that concludes the presentation.
Questions for Brett?
I don't have a question, maybe just a suggestion. This subdivision directly to the south has accesses onto 3000. And I know that we talked about the property to the north also just recently being approved. Maybe we suggest to those two parties that they get together and come up with one access onto 3000 East, a way to do that so that we don't end up with a whole bunch of accesses onto 3000 East, clogging up traffic on that busy road. Nah, not busy at all.
It's
So other than that, I don't have anything, and I would make a motion that we approve, if you'd like.
Did the property to the north get resolved?
Yes, it did. To the same RE 12.5.
I know Councilman Hughes won't make this motion due to his love of farms, which we all love farms, and Councilwoman Larson won't either. So I'll make a motion we approve ordinance number 2025-019, amending the city zoning map from A1 to RE 12.5. Can still have an animal, just not as many. Square feet, 12,500 square foot lot size minimum on approximately 9.3 acres, located east of 3000 East, approximately 1880 South.
With your recommendation?
With the recommendation that they work with the property owners to the north in their subdivision to reduce the number of accesses onto 3000 East.
Second.
motion by Steve, seconded by Michelle. All in favor, starting with Natalie.
Natalie Larson, aye.
Jimmy Hughes, aye.
Danielle Larkin, aye.
Michelle Tanner, aye.
Steve Kemp, aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Item number 9, consider approval of a hillside development permit to identify the location of the ridge line on lot 123 of the Four Master Ridge subdivision. Mr. Jenkins.
Thank you.
If you come saying there's red lines and blue lines and green lines.
He's not.
Okay, good.
Oh my gosh, please don't. Let me see.
Do we need a field trip?
No.
Okay. Yeah. We'll see. I know. Someday we'll never see these again. Okay, so this is, like I said, a request for a ridge line determination. Anyways, here's the lot. It's lot, I think, 123 at Four Master. I'll just go down here. Let's see. I thought he had a slide in here somewhere. Anyway, this is the lot. We went out and looked at it. We actually went out prior to the Hillside meeting, kind of met with the owner or the representative and kind of walked the ridge line. and felt like, okay, here's where we think it is, and we kind of agreed. Then we took the Hillside Committee out there. So here's a picture of the lot. It's right here and here, as you can see. And the ridgeline on this one was a little fairly established relative to the others. I don't see. Anyway, so then we took the Hillside board out after, kind of showed them where we felt like it was. They actually felt like it was actually a little further out. There was this little anomaly here where it looks like the rock has fallen away, but they felt like the ridgeline should just, it was there before, and so the ridgeline should just carry through that anomaly, and then should be moved further to the west. So this is actually the ridgeline, or to the east. This is actually the ridgeline that they established. They did have some conditions on it that they felt like they made this as a recommendation. The lot is more conducive. They've actually graded the lot years ago, so it's more conducive to walkout basement. They recommended that it stay as a walkout basement. They also recommended that, orange fencing be placed along the edge of the ridge line to prevent any debris or any rock falling down the hillside there. That was a recommendation. They also recommended that right here, when they graded this lot and graded this lower area, they left this disturbed, and they felt like they ought to clean that up and put some basalt rock or something in there to kind of blend that area in a little bit more with the natural surroundings. And then they said any retaining walls that would be built along this rear be constructed of a basalt type rock material to match the natural surroundings. Because even though it is a walkout, it's graded as a walkout, there was some discussion by the applicant that they may want to just build a rock wall at that 30-foot ridgeline setback and then build a slab on grade. And so that's where that came up, as far as if you're going to do that, then paint it a basalt color so it matches the surroundings.
Questions for Wes? If not, I'm ready for a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve a hillside development permit to identify the location of the ridgeline on lot 123 of the Four Master Ridge subdivision, including all of the recommendations that Wes made, including the basalt rock mitigation.
Second. Motion by Danielle, seconded by Michelle. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Item number 6, consider approval of resolution number 2025-6R approving the municipal wastewater planning program report for 2024.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. And again, I'm glad you saved the most important and most exciting agenda item for last, just like last year. But I think this year, it's like we've got about 10 times more people that are interested in it. So the Municipal Wastewater Planning Program is a requirement that we have from the state of Utah for our wastewater treatment plant and wastewater collection system. It's an annual self-evaluation that we do. And every year so far, we've got like an A or an A+, just like Dixie High School, right?
Of course.
I would have got all A pluses if that were the case. Self-evaluation.
Yeah. So really, there's three separate areas that we evaluate ourselves on: financial, how we're doing with our financial planning, the wastewater collection system, and the wastewater treatment system. So we all know we've got some pretty big ticket items coming up in the next 5 to 10 years for not only the regional wastewater system, but our local collection system as well. We've talked about that in the recent budget meetings, but in the next 5 years, we're looking at about $80 million worth of capital projects in the wastewater system. Our user rates are evaluated every year and adjusted as necessary. And we're just finishing an update to our master plan. Our previous master plan was prepared in 2019, 2020. So we're about 5 years later. We are updating that master plan. We'll have identified new projects and update the cost of the projects. In our wastewater collection system,
We've added about 13 and a half miles this year. We've got about 545 miles that we maintain. We've added a little over 1,400 connections, and we maintain 13,780 manholes, various lift stations. Right now, we're inspecting about 65 miles of pipeline a year and cleaning about 200. Now, we did have one sanitary sewer overflow this year. It was a class 2, which is a fairly minor overflow. If you remember, the beginning of 2024, we had some sewer backup into a business that was caused by grease in the line. That really shows the importance of maintaining our grease interceptors through our pretreatment program. So we did have one overflow. It was fairly minor. It was not a class 1, so it was a fairly insignificant overflow.
Class 2 seems worse. Yeah.
Unless it was in your house.
Exactly.
Aren't all backups class 2?
On the wastewater treatment side, we've recently expanded our capacity. We are now at 25.2 million gallons a day. We average about 12.65 million gallons a day throughout the year. And we always peak on President's Day weekend. This last year, we peaked at 14.65 million gallons a day, just for like 2 days. It's always the President's Day weekend. We have a lot of visitors that weekend. And we had no notices of violation at our wastewater treatment plant. So we met all of the requirements of discharging the effluent either back to the environment or through our reuse system. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. This is a resolution required by the state of Utah to accept this 2024 report.
Scott, just one thing really quick. I thought I took a screenshot of it, but I must not have. I don't know if it was a social media post that the Water Conservancy District sent out or an email. I'll have to look and see. But they have our capacity that we can treat a day a lot lower.
I saw that same.
Right?
I think they were referring to the reuse plant.
Okay.
Our reuse plant, right now, we're capable of treating 7 million gallons a day, but our wastewater plant, we're capable of 5.2.
Good. I wanted to make, because I was like, I don't think that's right. But any questions for Scott?
May I make a comment?
Yep.
Those people that work out there take their job seriously, and I think it's fabulous. Probably a lot of people don't want to visit it regularly, but I think they need to be commended for the job they do and the cleanliness of how they take care of it. It would all be up a stream if they didn't do such a wonderful job.
They do a great job, and there's not very many people that
want to do the job. Yeah, I don't blame them. I'm ready for a motion, Council.
Mayor, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the resolution number 2025-006R, approving the Municipal Wastewater Planning Program Report for 2024.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy, seconded by Danielle. All in favor, starting with Steve.
Steve Kemp, aye.
Michelle Tanner, aye. Danielle Larkin, aye.
Jimmy Hughes, aye.
Natalie Larson, aye.
Motion carries unanimously. I do have one appointment. It's to the Hillside Board. Right, Carol? It is Hillside. So, hang on. I was using the paper to write on. What did I do with it? Oh, here it is. I have it. Russ Owens went on a mission, so he, obviously we need to remove him from the board. And Wayne Rogers suggested Hugo Angelus. Hugo Angelus. He works for Landmark to replace Russ on the Hillside Committee.
Mayor, I'll make a motion, if you're okay, to appoint Hugo Angelus to the Hillside, is it board?
Yep.
Review board.
I'll second.
Motion by Jimmy, seconded by Steve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, report, Steve?
Nothing to report from the airport committee.
We will after. Yeah. Michelle?
No reports necessarily, but the Dinosaur Museum, I know that Diana has sent an email a couple of times wanting to clarify some of the excavation that they want to do over there. Have we?
Jamie sent you an email back because I was copied in it. Did you see it?
I saw that, but it sounds like they still need to bring something to the council to approve then. Is that correct? Would that be?
Oh,
Okay.
let's
I'll
talk to
follow-
legal.
I'll follow up with Jamie.
Thank you. Danielle?
Yeah, just that we had the first annual art museum gala last night. It was so much fun. We have the best staff ever. I mean, they worked so hard. It's hard to do a first year gala. It was outside, there was threat of rain, you know, all the stress. And it was just a lot of fun. So I just wanted to.
And
report
well
that
attended.
It went really well. They sold out. They made money on a first year gala, which is also unheard of. And yeah, I'm really proud of them for all the hard work that they do. And it was fun to use that space that doesn't get used a lot either. They did it outside in that space, like above the social hall, and it was really beautiful. Set up tables out there. Matt Clark's sculpture gallery is still out there and will be for a while. There's a Mo Atkins photography in the social hall. And there's actually, you guys should go, if you have time this weekend, go to the museum because I think they're taking it down after this weekend. They have a Dorothea Lange. She's a very famous photographer. I had no idea she came and took pictures in St. George. She has a picture of an old St. George rodeo that is in our collection from like the early 1950s. Dorothea Lange. It's really cool. And then some other old photos and old rodeo. Now I can't remember the artist's name. Another famous artist did some rodeo pictures that we have in our permanent collection that are just awesome. So that's it. Thank you.
And they sold 120 tickets and made $20,000.
Yep. I told them they need to go the Western theme again because one thing about those kind of galas, you don't have to dress up in formal wear. You can wear your jeans, your boots, whatever you want to wear. And it was great barbecue and just a fun time. So they said they would probably do that again next year. Jimmy, any reports?
I was going to invite you guys to the groundbreaking that you're going to be gone for, but just a reminder, they're doing that on this week, 12th. Next week.
Excuse us all.
Yeah, so I'll cover for you. Hope there's a city left when you guys get back. Good thing you're leaving John here. Keep track
John's
of me.
staying.
So that's good. And then, but do remember on the 18th,
Yeah.
the ribbon cutting for the expansion at the shelter. So don't forget that for Switch Point. And yes, I did just become a grandpa again, and John's going to become a dad again. That makes me feel old.
Tomorrow.
For sure tomorrow? It's okay.
For sure
for
tomorrow,
you.
yes.
Jimmy?
Natalie?
The usual, wait a minute, the usual questions. Sex, height,
He's a boy.
weight.
Boy, 9 pounds, 9 ounces. And things are going pretty good. It's got a little sketchy there for a minute, but it was a long labor.
9
pounds,
yeah. 9 ounces?
Yeah.
It's a big kid.
But super cute, lots of dark hair. I forced my way in. I forced my way into the NICU. I said, "My name's Mayor Randall. I'll have a free pass here."
Frequent flyer.
You both.
That's all I
Don't
got.
get dinner tonight.
That's all I got.
I've never been in the NICU, by the way.
That's right.
That's one area of the hospital I haven't had to visit. Natalie, anything? Okay, so now I need a motion to adjourn from our regular meeting and go into the St. George Neighborhood Redevelopment Agency meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Danielle, seconded by Natalie. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are now in our Neighborhood Redevelopment Agency meeting, and I've got so many papers here. So we just have, there's just 2 items on this. The first one is we already did it in the other meeting, but it was on the consent calendar for the approval of the real estate purchase on 100 West.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve the real estate purchase agreement between the City of St. George and the St. George Boulevard Partners LLC, a Utah limited liability company, for the purchase of approximately 3.73 acres located on the corner of 100 West and St. George Boulevard.
Second.
Motion by Danielle, seconded by Michelle. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Did you two say aye?
Yeah, we were slow.
We're very quiet. And an approval for the minutes from the meeting on October 17th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Danielle. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Now I need a motion to adjourn from the Neighborhood Redevelopment Agency and City Council and go into a closed meeting.
Technically, it's back into the city council meeting.
Oh,
regular meeting.
city,
and
go
then
back
we'll
into the
a
regular city council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Steve, seconded by Jimmy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Now I need a motion to adjourn from city council.
We got to do
And-
this.
What? We did do that.
Did we?
Yes.
What's,
The assistant city manager agreement?
it was part of consent calendar.
That was on the consent calendar. It
okay.
was an addendum.
What- We have to specifically say what we're adjourning for a closed meeting for?
We're going into, okay, so motion to adjourn from city council, go into work meeting for litigation and competency.
Closed meeting.
Closed meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Steve, seconded by Jimmy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. There is food, by the way.
I had a Polly funeral